Hello, Zalto Live listeners. Before we get started, we wanted to let you know that more teachings from Zen monk Claude AnShin Thomas are available in his two books, At Hell's Gate, A Soldier's Journey from War to Peace, and Bringing Meditation to Life, 108 Teachings on the Path of Zen Practice. Both are available wherever books are sold, and all proceeds go to the Zalto Foundation, dedicated to promoting nonviolence, awareness, and positive change.
Hello and welcome to Zalto Live, the podcast featuring Zen Buddhist monk Claude AnShin Thomas, who will share with you his life experiences that includes not only military combat, personal violence, and addiction, but also healing, transformation, and the ongoing joy of everyday life. Please enjoy listening.
We'll start off with a question from the group. Peter.
What would you say to somebody, I like to smoke pot every day. It makes me happy, productive, and I relate to other people better. What's wrong with that?
Well, I wouldn't argue with them. I mean, there's no point. They're convinced. I was a daily pot smoker. I believe that it spurred my creativity and that it made me more calm and relaxed as I was kicking out the windshield of my car. It wasn't until I was able to stop and stayed stopped that I understood how powerful the voice of addiction was. I didn't know until I stopped and stayed stopped what an illusion I was living in. So I don't argue with people like that. It's really just, it's a waste of energy. I just have a commitment to my own, to the reality that's been revealed to me through a disciplined spiritual practice. And I want to be as available as I can in those circumstances. But it's not my business to convince someone. Question from the group. Yes, Zonia, and then Milko.
Hallo Kenshin und Anshin.
Hallo.
Anshin, du empfiehlst Menschen zweimal täglich zu sitzen. Was würdest du sagen, wenn dich jemand, der das erste Mal hört, fragen wird, warum sollte ich das tun?
So you are recommending that people sit twice a day. What would you say if someone is asking you what for?
Again, I don't argue with them. And I'm not about convincing them. I say, just do it every day for 30 days, and hopefully you'll discover what for. Person doesn't want to sit, I don't fight or argue with them. Spiritual practice is for those who want it, not those who need it. But often what happens is, rather than sit, someone's going to smoke pot, or they're going to go do some other stuff. They're looking to distract their lives rather than wake up to it. I was on a serious spiritual quest in the heart of my dependence on intoxicants, and marijuana was one of them. Sit just to sit, see what happens. Nyoko?
Anshin, how do you respond? Well, how do you know, and then how do you respond if someone's trying to manipulate?
That's happening to me all the time. People are always trying to maneuver me in some way or another. I'm not invincible to being manipulated, but it's not easy. I catch it pretty quick. And it just depends. Really rooted in a disciplined spiritual practice, grounded in breath awareness, understanding and understanding that sitting is only a form of that practice, but it is the root form, and so it's necessary to engage with this twice a day, minimum twice a day, but twice a day, and then carrying that energy into everything I do. That how to respond is revealed to me, and it's how to and it's revealed to me in time. The tendency when I realize that someone's attempting to manipulate me is to immediately react to that. But if I immediately react to it, then I get drawn into their suffering, and then I become part of a problem rather than part of a solution. And so when I feel the pressure to respond immediately, I just don't. On the odd occasion, I do get caught. reacting rather than responding. And at the moment I notice that I'm caught in this a cyclical dynamic of suffering, stop and simply do my best to extract myself or to not keep the dynamic alive. Yeah, I got a couple of those going on right now. And boy, I tell you, I just want to, I want to like shame and criticize and harm. But I just don't allow myself to settle and wait for some indication of how to respond. And that indication may be to not respond at all. A question that was mailed in. How come there are not more people of African origins in Zen groups? I really don't know. My immediate response is, well, they're just because there isn't. And I don't know if that's entirely true. I don't have access to the full range of Zen groups. I have no idea. But I don't. The purpose for me in Zen practice isn't recruitment. I mean, Kenshin and I sat alone here for years. Now that we're online, we have some people who join with us regularly. Yeah. But I practice. I sit just to sit, keeping in mind that practice is for those who want it, not those who need it. Question from the group. Yes, Myo Zen.
Do you sometimes have bad temper without a reason? And if so, do you then do efforts to understand how come?
No. I rarely have a bad temper or bad mood with a bad temper without sort of understanding what I'm reacting to or what I'm reacting to. It's rare that I have a bad mood and don't sort of immediately know what it's connected to. It's just like that for me. Like, for example, just now, I know it's part of the adjustment process, but I had an experience yesterday. There's a number of free roaming cats around. And we provide food and water. And yesterday, we found one of the free roaming cats laying under the back of the pickup truck and had died. I brought the cat to our pet cemetery and dug a grave for it. I had a chance to stroke it a few times. I could do that in death where I couldn't approach it in life. It was a male cat, an unneutered male cat. So it's not one that was familiar to us, that we had provided caring for in the past. So Kenshin and I buried the cat and gave it a name, and now I'm doing the ceremony for the death for it. And I gave it the name Rosewood Daddy Cat. But I'm really I'm deeply affected by this topic, or what rises up around this topic. That could easily throw me into a bad mood. I simply don't allow it. I just to be present with whatever is showing itself. The real sadness for me. So not a bad mood, sad. And I somehow identify with the circumstances of being alone, being outside, of being neglected, or let's say being fearful of my environment, fearful and guarded. And I'm sorry Daddy Cat had to die alone. But the cat did feel safe enough in the space here at the center that in its last days it was often here. So I take some comfort in that. Question from the group. Yes, Myoshin.
From the point of view of our practice, are there good moods and bad moods?
Practice doesn't make us superhuman. We have to be incredibly cautious not to intellectualize this practice. So it's not whether it is about good mood. It's not whether I have good moods or bad moods. It's rather how I work with the sort of emotions that show themselves to me, not rejecting them or allowing them to determine my actions, not allowing those feelings to define me, but rather how to be present with the full reality of this human experience, whatever that is. And it is something that is revealed to me on a continuous and ongoing basis, provided I maintain a sustained, disciplined, committed practice. Question from the group. Yes, Sonia.
Would you find it useful and meaningful and also appropriate to include a meditation practice into a psychotherapeutic setting?
It doesn't matter what I would. What was that? I would
include.
It doesn't matter what I would include. I think that sometimes an active meditation practice can be supportive. I say 95 or 96% of the time. But an active meditation practice, not just the idea of meditation. An active meditation practice is that we sit just to sit. We walk just to walk. We eat just to eat. We learn how to listen with our whole being. We become conscious of how we communicate and the power of the words that we use. We are not rejecting nor attaching. But that's a developmental process. And we have to be willing to experience that full range of humanity, our humanity. There are, however, some instances where it may not initially be either helpful or supportive. The person may not be in a circumstance to really engage in a healthy or supportive way. It's dangerous when we start to generalize. You know, the whole idea that this is this sort of contemporary idea that a number of people in helping professions are advocating meditation without having any kind of grounding or basic understanding of what an active practice is. Yes, meditation is still largely theoretical for the vast majority of people. Question from the group. Yes, Victoria.
How can I deal with the grieving that suddenly overcomes me in connection with animals that I was part of them dying, and at the time when it happened, I did not process any of that.
You grieve when you grieve. And it's really, there's no formula for this. If suddenly I become more aware of these feelings, that's a great thing. Yes, it's to be part of the process of waking up. Yes, yeah, I just grieve. It's like grieve, be sad. Just grieve however it shows itself, as long as it doesn't manifest itself as self-harm. You know, I can get into all sorts of intellectual ideas about the reasons that I respond so to the death of this free-roaming cat. But often when I slip into the process of sort of analyzing or attempting to intellectualize the process, that's about avoiding the process. So what's been revealed to me through this commitment to waking up is to just be present to the process. In a lot of ways, the roots of it are irrelevant. To just be present to it. I'm thankful I am able to be. Question from the group. Getsugen.
In which ways can meditation be dangerous?
When I'm confused between meditation and medication, if I'm using an active meditation practice as an identity rather than embracing what is revealed to me through the process, that's what I'll say for now. I think the most danger is when I really don't embrace it, the discipline of the practice. I simply go through the motions. Now, going through the motions, at some point I may not be able to avoid the process. But if I wrap myself up in an identity and rather intellectualize what I'm involved in rather than just being present to it, that can be dangerous. I can find myself suddenly in psychic corners that I don't have the skill I don't have the skill or I'm shocked by that. And because I haven't really nurtured or allowed practice to nurture me, I'm suddenly caught off guard and surprised. Question from the group. Keith.
AnShin, does a personal response to outside stimuli ever surprise you, your own thoughts?
Absolutely. Glad to be surprised. It's always interesting to me because it happens. It happens. I want to say it happens with regularity, but I don't know if that's true. It just happens. I mean, it happened with this cat, and that's a good thing. Or let's say it's a thing. Yes. Question from the group. Genrai and then Bernd.
What does it do to you when people are initially inflamed by practice after visiting a talk or retreat and then don't continue on, or people abandon practice and don't come back?
What I know about people who are inflamed is that I'm slow and cautious with them, because what I've often discovered is that those who are inflamed burn out pretty quick because they're not able to navigate opening that occurred with their first initial contact. And then people who stop coming around, practices for those who want it, not those who need it. So there are certain times when I am sad. I have feelings that I identify as sad, or I feel lost. But I'm going to stay steady with what I do, which is to hold to the discipline that was passed on to me, because that's what my responsibility is as an ordained monastic, to pass that on for those, and it's for those that want it, not those who need it. Bernd.
Hallo AnShin, hallo KenShin.
How do I deal with a conversation in which I am sharing about my experience with meditation practice and I am being treated in a way like offensively or hurtful?
I don't know. How do you deal with that? Perhaps that person maybe it's just better not to engage with those people. This is like similar to a question that Myoshin asked, I think it was last week. What do you say to a person who says that you have to be Asian to understand the true Buddhism? First, I think it's racially insensitive. And I just think it's an absurd question. It's a question without any sort of study, background, or information. It'd be the same with the people you're talking about. Yeah, I don't argue with. I mean, it has happened from time to time that individuals engaged in what they call Zen practice have said that what I do is not really Zen. Yes. I just go, yeah, well, okay, whatever. Because what they're saying then is that they know the true Zen, and that everything outside of what they do is not Zen. How selfish and self-centered that is. There was a teacher who, I can't remember this teacher's name. I think it was sort of like 14th to 16th century, not the 8th. Every time a student would come into this teacher's room, the teacher would then say, well, what's Zen? And every time they started to tell this teacher what Zen was, he would then beat them with a stick. I'm not going to hit anybody with a stick. But I wondered what it would be like if the person said, what I do is not Zen, or not the real Zen, and then I just beat them with a stick. I'm not going to. But it's like, it's all a bit absurd. Yes, and so I'm just really glad, like in Bernd, in your case, I'm glad I don't live in the skin of that other person. And in Yoshin's case, I'm equally glad that I don't live in the skin of that other person. It's a narrow world. Question from the group. Nicola.
When someone is angry with you, how do you deal with that?
It depends. There's no fixed way. And sometimes people have gotten angry with me. I've just had to laugh. It was too funny. Yeah, because they were looking to, I mean, it was just not, it somehow wasn't real. I do my best not to react to that, but to listen and reflect and see what of their reactions do make sense. And is there something I need to do is there something I need to address within my own person? Yeah, I'm not in the world to live up to other people's expectation. That doesn't mean I ignore what people have to, I ignore my relations with others. It doesn't mean that the interactions I have with others, I don't use that to inform me. Yeah. But in reflecting back to Miyoko's question, I'm not in the business of living up to people's expectations. Because people will often use those as a tool to manipulate the people around them into particular situations. So how to not reject nor attach, how to not react, but rather respond. And that is a gift of practice, because it's about waking up to my own conditioning as that relates to the world around me. Because I am not separate from the world around me. I'm an integrated part of the world around me. I need to see what keeps me separate. That's the conditioning that I'm thirsty to wake up to. And the tools of a disciplined spiritual practice are the tools that will support that awakening. There's no shortcuts. There's no artificiality. There's no artificial way to invoke that. Artificial ways they simply create the illusion of awakening from my experience and from everything I've studied. Yeah. And we're talking centuries of engaged practice.
Thank you for listening to this episode on Zalto Live. If you would like additional information, please look at the show notes or visit zalto.org. That's ZALTHO.org. Our work is made possible solely through donations, so please consider making a tax-deductible gift on our website. We wish you well and thank you.